Hello my royal lovelies, welcome back to the channel, and as always, welcome to my home. Today marks the occasion of the 75th birthday of His Majesty King Charles III. So on behalf of myself and every one of you, I want to wish His Majesty a really happy birthday. So without further ado, let's talk about all the things surrounding King Charles's 75th birthday. So the first thing we should go to today is what has been going on, I suppose, over the past couple of days. So as always, well, not as always, but normally with a birthday comes either an official photographic portrait of the sovereign or members of the royal family, whose birthday it might be. We see that, for example, with the putting out of a photograph whenever one of the Prince and Princess of Wales's children has a birthday. With a monarch or an older member of the family, a portrait, a painting is typically done. So we would expect one for the 75th birthday. We got one, not a painting. I haven't seen a painting anywhere. I'm sure there will be at some point, but we did have a photographic portrait to mark his birthday. And this was kind of put out or used as the cover of the Big Issue, which is a homeless magazine or newsletter, whatever you want to think of it as, in the UK that has been going for absolute decades. So this is quite a big and poignant thing, because a lot of the time royals, it's a big celebratory occasion such as a birthday is an occasion not to really be selfish and look at yourself. It's to put others first and use the attention that you get from being a royal, being the king in this case, and using that platform for good, which is what the king is doing here. And also very topical in the UK at the moment with regards to the homelessness. So the Big Issue tweeted or put on their social medias, His Majesty King Charles III shares his birthday wish for our people and planet, exclusively inside next week's Big Issue. So if you are out in the UK, do grab one. The portrait was taken by, I think, Ian Rankin for the Big Issue. It's black and white. I really actually quite like the composition of it. It's King Charles with a slight kind of smile on his face. Very kind of low key, very appropriate for the setting in which it was going to be released and put out. So I really like it. It shows a man that is 75, that has just assumed his destiny, if you like, for becoming sovereign. And he comes across as being warm and personable, even though it's a black and white portrait. So I really like it. Let me know what you think about it. Also, there was a celebration at Highgrove. I think it was actually yesterday. And I've got some information on that. So the king was joined in the grounds of Highgrove. So it wasn't Clarence House. If there is going to be a kind of a family occasion event in private, that could potentially be at Clarence House. But as of yesterday, King Charles was at Highgrove. So you would think that perhaps he remained at Highgrove. It is, somewhere that he's called his home, made his home for decades. And he has not given up that home, although technically it now belongs to the Duchy of Cornwall, which the Dukedom of Cornwall is now, of course, Prince William's, the Prince of Wales's. So technically it's William's house, but it is believed that the king has kind of leased it from the duchy. So he still retains it as one of his favourite homes. So he could be there today. So any private party could potentially be there. We don't know who's going to be in attendance at the private party. Perhaps, only very close family and friends, although we do think attendance is going to be very limited. But yesterday was a kind of more big occasion, although still kind of small in scale. So at Highgrove in Gloucestershire, and was attended by the likes of celebrity chef Raymond Blanc and the repair shop host Jay Blades, as well as community stalwarts who are turning 75 this year. So very nice to include other people turning 75. Attendees also included people from the National Health Service and the Windrush generation. A local choir sang happy birthday at the end of the cream tea. Oh, I'd love a cream tea, I really would. I wish I was there. I'm getting major FOMO. And the king was cheered and applauded after cutting a slice of his 3-tiered Victoria sponge, no less. Now, Victoria sponge, I have to say, is my favourite cake. So let me know your favourite cake. But I'm with the king on this one. Victoria sponge all the way. The jam's got to be really nice and tart. The cream has got to be really delicious with icing sugar. And the sponge has just got to be perfect. Anyway. Blades, an ambassador for the King's Foundation, paid tribute to the monarch who featured on an episode of The Repair Shop, so that's obviously where the connection is, and said he's the new king, but he's also about community. He's always been about community, always been forward thinking about what we're doing, about the environment, but also including community members. Spot on. So to have this group of people here, that's just unbelievable. That's part of him. That's what he does. And there are some really lovely photos which I'll be popping on the screen if I haven't already. At the event, singer Lee John joined his 96-year-old mother, Jessie Stevens, a leading figure in Britain's Caribbean community, at Highgrove celebration. She was one of the Windrush generation chosen to have their portrait painted and exhibited nationally to mark their contribution to British society. The paintings were commissioned by the King when he was the Prince of Wales, so this has been long in the pipeline. So yes, if you didn't know, it is the 14th of November and the King was born in 1948. Today, obviously his birthday, like I say, we don't know what's happening in private, but publicly he has launched the Coronation Food Project, which aims to bridge the gap between food waste and food need, which I've got some further information on for you right now. So some information about the food project. His Majesty the King has been a champion of the circular economy, farming communities and increasing our food security for many decades. In December 22, supported by a personal donation from His Majesty, a £1 million fund was launched. So he's putting his money where his mouth is. Through this fund, over 800 commercial fridges and freezers, and this is where the detail comes in, were distributed to key locations across all 4 nations of the UK. So for people who think that the royal family don't have any actual impact, and of course going back to what Prince William was saying about he wants to go a step further than his family, he wants to concentrate on a few key issues and really make a difference. The King has been doing this for years. And I think I actually forgot to mention, of course, the Prince's Trust that the King founded, again, many decades ago. And that has been helping tangibly young people, disadvantaged young people, get ahead for decades and decades. So for people who are thinking that King Charles wouldn't be able to have that level of impact when he became king, that is completely not true. So the fridges and freezers have been distributed, and together they are helping food charities rescue tons of additional fresh and frozen surplus food every week. Food that was at risk of being wasted, destroyed, thrown away because potentially sell-by dates or whatever. The first initiative highlighted the urgent need to do more. Food charities and community groups are continuing to face increasing demands from more people struggling to make ends meet. There remain high levels of edible food going to waste from across the food system at farm gate, through to retailers, food services and in homes. There is a huge demand for food across the UK as we head into winter 23. The Coronation Food Project seeks to tackle food waste and food insecurity across all 4 nations of the UK. We want to work with the food industry and food charities to support the amazing efforts of many organisations, large and small, working to reduce food waste and food insecurity. So a very worthwhile and noble cause. And I think the King is going to be fantastic as being kind of head of this. The official royal family website also put out a short video, kind of photographic montage of photos, obviously, of the king all the way through his life, which is pretty poignant to look at the early photos that they chose, because of course it includes her late Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh, and then kind of it shows one photo I'm looking at it now, every single year throughout his entire life. So 75 photos, probably over 75 photos. So I will pop that on the screen as we're going through. The Prince and Princess of Wales also commented on and wished His Majesty a very, very happy birthday with some photos, including a balcony photo, one of the King and one of the King and Prince William on a skiing trip. Now, I'm sure you all might be wondering, what is Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, going to do? Or is he going to reach out to his father? Now, we know there have been difficulties within the royal family on personal levels. And we had all of this, I included it in a video about, was Harry invited to King Charles's kind of private birthday celebrations or not? People from within sources from palace circles kind of indicated that Harry had been invited but declined and therefore snubbed, whereas Prince Harry kind of shot back from Montecito that he hadn't even been invited and that there had been no contact. Whatever the situation, what we do know from today is that the King remains in the UK and Harry remains in America, the United States of America. So what that tells me is that there is not going to be a physical meeting. So if there is going to be any contact, it's either going to be by video call or phone call. And that is a big if there is going to be. And I mean, obviously, people from Prince Harry's camp kind of said, well, he'll find a way of reaching out, which again indicates to me that the channels of communication are not very good between them. I don't think they definitely are not in that place where Harry can just pick up the phone and kind of, call and put through to his father. So very difficult, obviously the time difference as well. But people within sources have indicated that Harry will attempt at least to make a phone call to wish his father a happy birthday. But we do not know that for sure. And I'm sure as time plays out, we'll get a few more details about what happened. Okay, so another series of events that's worth talking about around the King's birthday is the renaming of the charities and organisations that the King set up when he was Prince of Wales. So the Prince's Trust, for example. They have actually been renamed. And I don't think that the announcement made was it is in conjunction with his birthday. Over a year passed, and I think they were probably kind of thinking what to do, because a lot of these charities and organisations were set up and have been associated with the Prince of Wales for so long. And now, of course, we have a new Prince of Wales who doesn't have any formal association with those. So lots of people mistakenly thought that when Prince William became the Prince of Wales and the Prince of Wales became king, that all the Prince of Wales charities and organisations would go to William. That was not the case, because there's never actually a formal role for the Prince of Wales. Basically, Prince William could sit on his bottom all day and do nothing and just wait to be king. There is no formal role. Even with the Duchy of Cornwall generating all that money and all that revenue, there is no formal obligation for Prince William to spend that, as the Prince of Wales now does, on charitable organisations and also funding a royal way of life that includes royal public service and duty. But they do, and they have done, because they see that as being vitally important. Creating a role for yourself when there isn't a formal one laid down is what Prince Charles, as Prince of Wales, did very, very well. Now that he's king, I think he was keen to retain those charities and organisations and not hand them over to anyone else. So the renaming of them, I think, was vital and was always, I think, going to happen. So which ones have been turned? Well, the Prince's Trust will become known as the King's Trust. The Prince of Wales's Charitable Fund will become King Charles III Charitable Fund, and the Prince's Foundation will be known as the King's Foundation. So those changes will happen slowly, gradually over time. A lot of those organisations have already made that announcement, although some of the social media handles still are of the old name. So expect a lot of website updating and social media updating. As I've said before, I do think that it is a natural progression, and was just always going to happen. I definitely don't think that it was going to be sort of passed over. One thing, obviously, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Edward, the new Duke of Edinburgh, was always going to kind of take over the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme. That was always kind of in the pipeline. But again, that is nothing automatic. Right, so in this video, all that's left for me to say is to again wish His Majesty a very, very, very happy birthday. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media. And of course, do hit that bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. From me, to you all, and goodbye.